Badagry was one of the most influential slave ports during the transatlantic slave trade, with more than 300 black people sold daily at point. Join me as I venture to Beautiful Island, also known as the point of no return, where enslaved people were shipped off to Europe and the New World. Let's simulate this harrowing journey together. Badagry's history is one fraught with uncomfortable truth. If you are a black person living in the Americas from north to south and you can trace your heritage back to Nigeria, there's a huge chance that your ancestors were shipped off from this point. Badagry was the slave capital of present-day Nigeria, and the point of no return is on the Beautiful Island, and that's where most people were shipped off from. They were kept at barracks and prisons on the mainland and shipped off to Europe and the New World through Beautiful Island. On this visit to Badagry, we visited all the slave sites, and after that we got to go to the point of no return to see what the journey was like and experience. I don't know if you've been able to deduce it, but being an island where not a lot of people live on in present day, it is only accessible by road. It is technically accessible by land if you are willing to go around Badagry and walk, but there are no roads leading to here, so the only way is to go by boats. It's not a very long journey, and you can see your destination from your departure point. It's less than a kilometer long. I personally cannot swim, and I had a lot of doubts about being able to go on this boat, because to be honest, the boat did not look reassuring. It did not fill me with confidence, and better safe than sorry. Coming to Badagry, I low-key did not put this as part of my plan because I just believed that my friends and I would chicken out, but as God would have it, we eventually decided, and after boarding and wearing our life jacket, the boat refused to start. It took a while. The captain, I don't know if I should call him a captain, but the captain and his other people were trying for a while. It took about 10 minutes for the boat to finally come up. And during this time, I was having second thoughts. What? I already had second thoughts. I was having third thoughts because I was like, maybe this is God giving me one last opportunity to check out before something bad happens. But I just had to stick through it because I understand that the story I'm telling, or the story I plan to tell in this video, is one that every black person should be able to interact with. It's essential if we are going to move on and do better as a race, because one thing I learned on this trip is black people played an influential role in the transatlantic slave trade, especially in Badagry. I don't know if it would be appropriate to call this a dock, but there were thick sea plants by the dock, and I believe that's one of the things that stopped our boat from starting time. And I don't know, looking at this, it just made me scared. But one thing I realized was my ancestors, people like me, had to make that journey at a time when they weren't mechanized boats, at a time where they had been enslaved for months or years, locked up in literal rooms, once tiny room, 40 plus people, and they still have to make the journey. I was like, if this is what it takes to see what they went through, and this is not even what I went through, wasn't even close to what they went through, that gave me a sense of duty, and my friends and I stopped through it. When the boat finally got onto the open waters, my anxiety reduced. I always overthink trips, but when I'm in the middle of trip, I just kind of go with the flow and believe that nothing is gonna happen. We got life jackets, but how do I put this? The life jackets didn't really reinforce me with much confidence. Our tour guide is a bright, young 11-year-old. He is a descendant of the infamous Seriki Williams Abbas. Seriki Williams Abbas was a slave trader in Badagry, and he was the slave trader, the major slave trader, right? Yeah, he owned a barracoon where he locked up people, and now his descendants maintain his old home as a museum, and they live and work here servicing tourists. I'm not blaming him for what his great-great-great-grandfather did, but I just feel like that was worth sharing. I unfortunately decided not to show his face due to YouTube's rules on kids. I know I could have gotten permissions and whatever, but it's not just what, so his face is blurred for that reason. And after that, feel free and you're welcome to enjoy this amazing montage of my boat rides. I haven't taken a lot of boat rides in my life because I do my best to avoid open water, or even close water for that matter, until I learn how to swim, but enjoy this rarity for me. After a while, I eventually accepted that I was overthinking it, and hundreds, maybe thousands of people make this trip every day. What are the odds that an issue was gonna happen on mine? Infinitely small. But yeah, if you're enjoying this video so far and you would like to watch more content like this, you should definitely consider subscribing and giving this video a like. And you can click the link that appears around now to watch other videos in my Badagry slavery tour, as well as videos from other slave slave installations across Africa. If you are interested and the numbers back it up, I'll definitely travel across the continent and shoot more content like. Welcome to the infamous beautiful island in Badagry, and this is the island where hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe tens of thousands of boats from the New World and Europe came to pick up stolen, enslaved and subjugated people. Our young tour guide spent the first few minutes when we got to the dock explaining a few things about what the island is, what's happened, and the people that live there now. And after a while, we got to go to like the mini market. There's a mini market right beyond this dock, and you can get lots of different locally made and foreign beverages, and it's necessary. We didn't really realize it, even though we indulged in the beverages. It's necessary, and to be honest, we spent too much time there, meaning that we got to spend less time at the actual point of no return. But it is what it is. After spending so much time at the mini market, we finally began our journey towards the point of no return. We didn't realize it at the time, but the actual point of no return was around 1,400 meters away from our location, almost a mile long, and we had to walk on beach sand, so it wasn't easy. Additionally, we had to haul our picnic items through the beach sand, and if you've ever walked on beach sand, you just know that it takes way much more effort to be able to walk on it. As we dragged our feet and labored towards the point of no return, I got a eureka moment. Every single enslaved person that was sold off and shipped off at this point of no return had to make this journey, and unlike us, they had been locked up in barracoon for months, maybe years. They had been fed once a day, they have been put to work, and still had to make this arduous, unforgiving journey. It filled me up with sadness and a zeal to complete, because some of our friends that went with us struggled to make the journey, but we ensured that no soldier was left behind. We got to this infamous well, and the well reportedly has mythical powers. When slaves were taken to the ships, the tour guide reported that many of them were given, or all of them were given, water from this well as the last taste of their homeland, and the people also believed that it made them lose their memories or something like that. It was incredible, but after so long, finally made it to the point of no return, and it took us over 30 minutes. Welcome to the infamous Badagry slave ports and the point of no return. I don't know if you can, but try to imagine this port filled with hundreds of small boats and dozens of larger ships. When these people came around, they essentially stole our people and we helped them. And this is the last view that hundreds of thousands of people saw of their native land forever. Many countries in West and Central Africa have monuments dedicated to remembering the failures of slavery, and these monuments are often at the points of no return. That's where the points where these ships came around to take people. But the eagle-eyed among us might notice that the monument in Nigeria looks a little incomplete, abandoned, and very much like a safety hazard, and that's because it is. This point of no return monument has become a monument to Nigeria's failure and corruption. The country started a monument project, but corruption seeped in, as it always does. And I believe the failure of the government to get it right with this monument is an insult to all enslaved people and their descendants. Other countries, and dare I say other smaller countries, do a better job of telling their stories and preserving their unfortunate slavery history. But Nigeria, not so much. Notwithstanding, I believe this is a must visit for every black person in the world that can make it down to Nigeria. See it as sort of a pilgrimage, because if we do not understand where we're coming from, we will make the same mistakes that our ancestors made in the past. There were a few people living and working there, but it felt kinda empty. And why not? Who would want to come here? Minimum provisions were made for getting from the dock to here. You either took over priced and honestly unsafe motorbikes or ride horses, and I do not like riding animals because it feels like slavery itself towards the animal. I was saddened by the sight of trash and people disrespecting this location that I feel should be sacred. As much as I want to show you the trash, I just had to take it out for my sanity. It's unfortunate. The little progress made on this monument has been destroyed. You can see some of the insulation and other stuff that were in the building now on the floor. I won't point fingers to who might have done it, but common sense gives me couple suspects. But that being said, what do you think about this half-finished monument? And what does that say about our country if you're a Nigerian? And what does that say about Nigeria to you if you're a non-Nigerian? If you're still here, consider subscribing real quick. Don't let anybody know. Just click the subscribe button and then keep it a secret. After a while, we sat down to have a picnic. I mean, we all brought things from our houses and then we took time to enjoy what we could of the scenery, take it all in, have a decent time, and all the while we were thinking of what we had learned and worked in. We also got to play games because not everybody knew each other before we came. We were about 10. Small canoes and boats used to come ashore to take enslaved people that were chained up and gagged to larger seafaring ships situated a few hundred meters or kilometers away. These ships were too large to actually dock, so small boats came to took them to the ships, and I was just replaying it in my mind and creating the scenarios, and it's an horrible experience. But after a while, we had to head back to the dock because boats, according to them, boats stopped operating around PM. So all the while we were keeping time in mind. It was faster to get back because we carried less load and we all now had an idea of how far it was. Then when we came, we were just walking and learning things as we went. For better or for worse, I had a lot to think about on my way back. It's not easy to experience emotions like we all did that day and just go about your day. Unfortunately, I had to learn a lot of new things that I should have known on this trip. For some reason, in the 2000s, Nigeria decided to stop teaching any form of history. I guess the people in power did not want the next generation learning what they did. So I had to learn a lot of these things for the first time alongside others. It was a fun day, but the boat ride back to the mainland was eerily quiet. We all had time to reflect and get a better understanding of what we failed to do as a race in the past, what we can do better, and important lessons that we need to ensure that we pass on to the next generation. Because slavery didn't just happen randomly. It was a concerted effort supported by Africans who barely benefited from it. This video is one of my eye-opening episodes of my Badagry slavery tour, and it was hard for me to make. And a lot of people that I've showed this video to found it hard to watch because the emotions just took so much. This video definitely feels like it's longer than 12 minutes because I had to stop and start multiple times. I purposely went with my friends to Badagry to learn more about slavery, and I believe everybody should too. If Badagry or coming to Nigeria doesn't make much sense to you, find the nearest slavery heritage museum, site or class and learn more about what they did to us so we can know the signs to look out for so it doesn't get done to us again in the future. When we pulled into the port, I returned a changed man. As a black man, I do not discount the gift of freedom. I plan to continue living my life on my terms because for too long, people that looked like me weren't given the opportunity to self-govern. You can watch other episodes in this series now. Until the next video, I remain Musa from the Okodo YouTube channel.